Nansi wemnyama wakuthiwa usuku emnyama. Hey, all right. Let's see here. Damn, how many pages? It's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 pages. Okay. Hey, good day, peace, love, and light to you all, family. Welcome to another YouTube video with me, your host. Now I'm back. I'm back with another movie decoding. Today we're going to be looking at The Lion King. As I said, man, you're chilling with your boy Mathics. And we're gonna get into that decoding. Some of you really enjoy this, these movie decodings, and that's good because life is a movie worth decoding. And so, when you begin to understand that you yourself are a hero, a main character in your own movie, you begin to watch movies differently. Also, especially when you come at these movies with a different level, when you come with certain knowledge, when you've read certain things, movies are no longer just movies to you, but you actually see things that are deeper. So today we're going to be looking at The Lion King. Now, I'm not going to waste time because I have a lot of notes here on The Lion King. We're going to get straight into it. Now, when we are talking about The Lion King movie, while I'm still there, like, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. But don't just share it with any friend. That friend that you know, you're like, yes, this person, they like thinking outside the box. Because my channel is not for everyone. I don't want just random people here. I want people who are really devoted into wanting to know who they are. So share it, like, and subscribe if you haven't already. So now, let's get into it. When we are talking about The Lion King, you first of all have to understand that this movie is based on an ancient story that took place thousands of years ago. It's an ancient African story about Isis, which is a feminine principle or a feminine deity, a female deity, Osiris, which is the male deity, and then Set, which is Osiris's brother, and then Heru, which is the son of Osiris and Isis. So now the story goes that Osiris was he rose to power and he was this great ruler. He brought Egypt into a whole new level. So he was basically favored by the gods. He led with wisdom and with intelligence, and he was in tune with his people. But then he had a brother. His brother was Set, and his brother was very jealous of Osiris. He was the cunning one. He was the cunning person. So Osiris was kind of willfully, he was blind as to how malevolent his brother really was, how cunning he was. So it's like he shut a blind, like he chose not to see that side of him. And eventually Set got the better of him, and then he killed Osiris. He cut him up into 14 pieces. Isis then went to collect the pieces of Osiris. She put the pieces back together, and then they had this particular, the only piece that was missing was the phallus. So the stories are different. In another story, they say that she made the penis out of wood, and then she continued to have sex with Osiris, which is where Heru was born from. So the story of the Immaculate Conception comes from there. So that's where the whole story of Jesus comes from. Jesus is a later version of the Egyptian deity called Horus, which is the hero. So he also was born on the 25th. Everything that is about Jesus, anything, all the performing of miracles, all of that is taken from the ancient, thousands of years ago, there was already a Jesus Christ in Africa, but his name was Horus. This is where Christians took the story of Jesus from. Look up Heru, Horus, if you haven't. So now I just wanted to give you that brief story before we got into the decoding of this particular movie, because The Lion King is actually about this particular story that I'm telling you here about. So now we're going to get into it. Okay. So now the movie begins with the sunrise. The movie begins, it's raining outside also, just in case maybe you're hearing something in the background. The movie begins with the sunrise, And that immediately lets us know that we are dealing with the birth of a hero. We are dealing with the dawn of consciousness, the beginning of something new. It's a new birth. It's a new state of mind. That's what you see that sunrise coming up is about. That's what it's about. Whenever you see the sun rising, it is representative of that enlightenment, a new day, a new dawn. Right? Then we see all the animals gathering. So now the animals are gathering to bear witness to this particular event. And we need to remember that all of this which is taking place in this movie, it's psychological. It's psychological. Just like the Bible and any other holy book, most of these are allegorical, symbolic teachings that are presented to you as facts, but you have to break it down and see the deeper meaning in that. So the animals are beginning to gather around to bear witness to the birth of the hero, the son, the new mind, the new way. So also, Simba would be Neo in the Matrix. He's the new way. He's the new one. He's the hero. He's the neocortex, the conscious mind. So that's who Simba is. So now, this is something that is happening inside your psyche, and it happens inside all of our psyches, but in different degrees. Okay, so now we're gonna continue on here. So now we see Rafiki. Rafiki represents the shaman. He represents the shaman in all of us. He's the guide. He's the inner voice. He's the wise one within us. So he baptizes the hero, which is the sun, the S-O-N, which is the physical manifestation of the sun, the S-U-N. The sun, which is the story of Jesus and Heru, is the story of the sun. So the sun manifests itself in the physical world. As the sun travels, the S-U-N, as it travels through the 12 constellations of Aries, Pisces, Aquarius, all of that. That is the same thing as Jesus having the 12 disciples, the S-O-N with the 12 disciples. The 12 disciples are the constellations, the different constellations. So now that's what this story is also talking about. Remember that astrology is about psychology. It deals with the mind. So now Rafiki is baptizing the S-O-N under the light of the S-U-N, because all of us have an inner son. We are the hero that must become. Because you need to understand that the reason why also they are using the fruit, as he breaks the fruit is the highest expression of what a tree is. So a tree reaches its highest potential when it gives you a fruit. That's the highest expression of what the tree is. And even if you were to look at a fruit, a tree needs the light of the sun in order for the fruits to ripen. So that is also symbolic of the consciousness, the breaking, and it's even around that fruit, the breaking of the fruit, being baptized within the fruitful waters of the universe. So now that's the first scenes that they are showing here. Okay, the animals are bowing down, and as the animals are bowing down, it also hits, I thought of another verse in the Bible. They say that every knee shall bow. And that's true, because the animals within the story represents the lower passions. When Christ consciousness begins to arise within you, the lower passions must give way. Basically, they must bow to the birth of the new hero, the new Messiah, the one who must now lead. So the animals bowing, they represent the lower passions going down on the knees. The knees are on the lower parts of the body. So that's what the animals bowing down, they represent that. So when you see Simba and his pops and Rafiki and the lions on Pride Rock standing up there, they represent the higher nature, the head. They have to stand up to look down. So you must stand up and look down consciously on your body and govern it from there. You must be the lion. You must lead. You must look at all your lower passions and be like, greed, oh, okay, lust, oh, okay. You must become the king. Wear the crown of thorns that Jesus was crucified. Those are the challenges that kings go through, but we're going to get into that later on in the story. So now we're going to continue on here. Okay, That okay, I already spoke about that. Okay, one part I wrote here is that in the Bible, they speak about Jesus sending his disciples to go administer to the land of the Gentiles. That's where his disciples went. That is symbolic of what we call you have 12 cranial nerves that reflect the projections of light that come from different constellations that manifest themselves in you as what we call your birth chart. So you are the microcosm of the macrocosm. So now the 12 constellations are represented in your head by the 12 cranial nerves. So when Jesus was sending his 12 disciples, which are the 12 constellations, to administer to the land of the Gentiles, that is the genitals, the lower regions of the body. So Jesus is the third eye, the pineal gland, the crown chakra, the upper parts. The nervous system is what Jesus or the Christ, the higher mind, sends information to the lower parts to administer to the land of the Gentiles, which is the genitals, the lower area. So you can discipline that part of you that always wants to eat, that part of you that always wants to have sex, that part of you that is so concerned about survival. You need to bring that up. You need to alchemize that as the hero, as the king. So now that's what that represented in the Bible. It's the same thing that they're showing here when the animals are bowing down. Okay, so now let's go on. So now Rafiki and them standing up on the mountain, they represent that higher part, that higher portion. The higher being Simba and all of them standing there. That's what they represent. Only from the higher can you lead. When you are looking at the people from the higher perspective, you can lead them from that particular area, which is the head. The conscious part, because enlightenment happens where? Within the head. So now we get introduced to Scar in the next scene. So now Scar represents the shadow. Scar represents Set in the Egyptian mythology. Scar is Set. He's that which he's that which later became Satan. When the Christians started taking over, they changed Set into Satan and they made it a physical Satan. When the ancient Africans, they actually knew that these are not physical beings but rather aspects of the mind. So Set is Sut, the darkness, which is Set. You know when you burn, I know you've seen this. You know Muslim kukwini man, and you're burning like a candle or those things that would come from the top. Or if you were to take a candle and you put it against a white wall, that blackness, that is called soot. That is Set. That is the shadow. That is the manure. That is the shit. But from that shit grows what? Flowers. So it's actually good because the shadow, the darkness is what ripens or what brings consciousness. It's what gives it friction. So Horus, having now to avenge his father Osiris, is your conscious mind rubbing up against the friction of what we call the dark psyche, the dark parts of ourselves. But we're going to get into that. So now Scar represents that. Scar is the shadow. He is Set, who later on became Satan. It's not a physical Satan. All of these are psychological. Remember that. So now he represents the darkness within all of us. He is the tempter, just like how the devil tempted Jesus, which is Horus in the Bible, and he said, "Look upon all these lands, I shall give you this." You know, the same things are happening within this movie also. It's like, hey, has your father told you about all of this? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. He is the deceiver. He is the tempter. He's that. You know how they say you have an angel on the right side and a devil that speaks on your left side? That's the two polarities that are happening within your mind every day. And you need to learn how to balance them. Okay, so now here we're gonna continue on. So okay, that's who Scar is. And then the next scene we see Mufasa and Scar for the first time, and then they have this little clash. And then after they have that whole confrontation and whatnot, Zazu says to Mufasa, he's like, "Don't, sire, there's one in every family," which is true. That family that he's talking about is your own body. First of all, you are a family unto yourself. You are a family. You have good sides and bad sides. So there will be a Scar in you. We all have a Scar in us. And most families have that uncle. I know most families have that uncle that everyone is like, "Hey, man, let's loan. Hey, this present." Most families have that uncle because as within, so without. What is with inside manifests itself outside. This is a cosmic universe. It's a game. It's binary codes. It's cycles that repeat themselves. They repeat themselves in ways that you do not even see. If you to look at how the neurons of the brain are structured, and you look at how rivers flow, or you look at how trees branch off, all these things look the same. The spirals on a shell look the same as the spirals on your fingerprint, how your hair spirals. It is all the same geometry, psychologically and physically. So now, that's what it's about. There's a scar in every family, as Zazu says. So now, let me continue on here. These are the archetypes. Now, Zazu, the bird, is the king's eye because he's the one who flies to see. So he's basically he represents the third eye, or he also represents Horus because Horus is a bird that flies up in the sky. So he's the eyes of the king. So he is Mufasa. At this point, he's Mufasa's eyes. He's Mufasa's third eye, that ability to look upon the whole land and see and render judgment on the land and on the nation, and keeping that state of peace. So he's the third eye that sees beyond the physical. So we see that by Mufasa having a good relationship with Rafiki, because Rafiki is the shaman. He represents the self. He's the wise one. So Mufasa is a wise king. We see that through the good relationship that he has with Rafiki. So now we're going to continue on here. Okay, so after a while, Mufasa, then we see the next scene where Mufasa is having a conversation with Simba, and he says that, Simba, all of this which you see here, everything which the light touches is basically our land. It's our land. And then he says that, and then Simba asks, he's like, what about that part there? He's like, okay, that part you should not go there. That part you should not go there. So what that scene was representing is that in your own consciousness, the parts that you've been able to shine a light upon, the things that you've been able to acknowledge within yourself, that's your pride land. That's Pride Rock. That's your kingdom. The dark side is the shadow aspect that you still, that's why you see Scar being there with the hyenas, with the scavengers. That's the part of your own psyche that you have not dealt with, which is why in the spiritual community they speak about shadow work. So when you do shadow work, that's when you are now expanding your pride land and going into those deep aspects of your own subconscious to shine a light on those parts. But until you do, it remains something that is outside of you. It's something that is far. So the light that Mufasa is talking about, Simba, is where you've shone the light of consciousness within your own body to acknowledge that I'm an angry person, or I'm a bitter person, or I'm a lustful person, I'm a prideful person. Those are the dark aspects of yourself. And once you acknowledge that, guess what you do? You shine a light on that. So that's what this scene was representing. Until you shine a light within the darkness, you can't go to certain places because you'll be afraid. You'll be afraid to go there because it is something that is unknown. It is the unknown parts. It is the shadow parts. Okay, so now we're going to continue on here. Let me see. Bam. So now Simba meets Scar in the next scene. They show us Simba, the hero, meeting Scar. So now Simba meeting Scar shows us a different representation from Simba interacting with Mufasa. So now Simba is now meeting the malevolent part of the world that, he's meeting that part. Hey man, the world is not all fun and games, because kids are about fun and games. Loving everybody, trusting everybody. So now he has to learn at some point, yo man, not everybody is on the good side. Not everybody is on the light side. Some people have really taken it to high extremes to be on the dark side. So that's what we see here, Scar. Scar is basically showing the opposite part of what Mufasa was doing, because he tells Simba, let me see here. Scar meets Simba, a different aspect of Mufasa. Scar is the malevolent side. He's the tempter, like when Satan took Jesus to the high place. I already spoke about this, and he said that all of this can be yours. All right. Excuse me. So that's who Scar represents. He's the malevolent part, the dark side. So all of us encounter that at some point in our life. It's either when you first got mugged, or when you first got lied to, or when your heart first got broken and you realize that, damn, this world is not what I thought it was as a child. So you were meeting Scar at the dark side. So you first meet it outside, and then you're going to meet it inside of yourself as well. When you have some weird thought of just slapping somebody randomly. You know, sometimes people have thoughts of killing people. They'll never do it, but they're like, I would kill this person, you know, but they'll never do it. That's the Scar inside of us. I mean, even the name Scar, it should let you know. So, okay, the next scene, Simba meets Nala. So now they're going out. So Nala represents the feminine principle. She is the right brain. She is the emotion. She is the intuition. She is also that part that sharpens the male. She calls the male into action. She is the water. So she casts a reflection on the male to take a look at himself. Hence you see men always trying to impress women. Oh, damn. What? Damn, man. That's true, actually. That's why you see men always trying to impress women in whatever way. So now, she is the one that makes the man, or Simba, self-conscious. Like, what? Where do you want us to go? Like, a watering hole. It's like, what? That ain't cool. You know, just like in reality, women, like most guys, they're like, man, if I don't drive a certain car, I won't get women. Or if I don't earn 6 figures, or if I don't do this, women won't like me. So women make men to be self-reflective. The feminine aspect casts a reflective aspect on the male to be able to be like, oh damn, because she's the one who chooses. Like, she chooses you. You go to her and you're like, I like you. Damn, you're so beautiful. The man is the intention. He is the idea, but the woman is the potential. She is that which manifests the idea. So you go, you present the idea, and if she doesn't like it, she's not gonna date you. You know, so that's why she causes men to be self-reflective. Because if you love a woman, but she doesn't love you, you're gonna be like, what doesn't she love about me? I remember when I was a child, there's this friend that I had. He liked this other Indian girl, and then I was in grade 4 or 5. This girl dated some other Indian guy, and then he went to her. He's like, what was her name? I forgot her name. He's like, what does he have that I don't? You know, I still remember this till this day. So the woman will cause you to look at yourself like, or the feminine aspect, because it goes beyond gender. This is all taking place inside of us and outside of us. So that's who Nala is here. Like, what? That ain't cool, man. You know, like just like in real life. So we're gonna continue on here. Okay, so now they're going on to that scene where he sings, oh, I just can't wait to be king. So he still doesn't understand the challenges of what it takes to become a king. It takes a lot more than a song to become a king, boy. Yes, says you. It takes going through the shadows. So now Simba and Nala eventually end up in the graveyard, in the elephant graveyard, which is the dark side now. So now they're beginning to experience the malevolent part of the world. You know that it's not all fun and games. Okay, so now he's being exposed. He and she, all of them are happening inside logic and intuition. All the aspects of the hero are being exposed into a different side. So it's danger. This scene happens in our lives when a random illness takes place, when death takes place, something so sudden that causes you, that shakes you outside of you, the norm. This is what this scene is talking about here. So now, let me see here. The hero has to go out of the ordinary world. This is where the training takes place. So now the hero develops his psyche. It is basically the underworld. It is the lessons, or the hard lessons of nature, showing you a different side to reality. Okay, that's what it is. So after that whole thing, here's that whole confrontation with the hyenas, and then Mufasa comes through. As Mufasa comes through, he comes through because he is the developed part of the king. He's the developed part that Simba still has to rise to. He's the subconscious mind. He is the one who has experienced. Okay, so Mufasa comes through. He's the male force. He's the he's the discipline part. He's that logic. He's that, yo, bro, you can't just do this. You can't just do that. But at the same time, he's playing the role of God in the Garden of Eden when he's like, yo, man, there are all these trees. You can eat from all of them except not that one. Don't eat from this one. I've always wondered growing up, like, if God didn't want Adam and Eve to eat from that tree, why did he put it there in the first place? The fact that he put it there means that he wanted them to eat it, but of their own accord. It's the same thing that Mufasa did. He's like, oh, he shows them all these beautiful things, and he's like, that part, don't go there. You know, it's a child. They're gonna go there. You know, so it's basically that thing that you're teaching, but without showing. So this is how these lessons, this is how your guides teach you. God teaches you. Your ancestors teach you. They don't want to be in your face. Go here, do that. You have to experience these things for yourself. But then it is known that you must go into certain aspects in order to awaken different parts of your brain. Because only through pressure, only through heat, only through friction can you become a diamond. Only through that can you become refined. Or you're going to stay a child. You need challenges, tribulations. So now, let's continue on here. Well, where was I? Mufasa is the male force. Okay, so Mufasa and Simba are having a conversation. And then after that, Mufasa tells Simba, he's like, hey man, the great kings of the past are looking down on us on those stars. They look down. And the great kings that they are talking about, that's basically your ancestors. Your ancestors that come to live inside of you in the form of your DNA, but then they are also turned into celestial beings, celestial light, those who ascend into higher realms of being. So they look and guide upon us. They never really die. No one ever really dies. Okay, so now we see Scar and the hyenas. The hyenas, you need to understand what's a hyena. Hyena, most of the time, it's a scavenger. It can hunt, but it's a scavenger. So Scar is always in the shadows, man, just like lurking in the shadows. So we see Scar, he wants to rise to power, but through ill means. He doesn't want to do it through hard work and learning and being sharpened. He just wants to cheat. So he now is playing on Simba's vulnerability after that whole him singing with the hyenas when he takes Simba to that part. He's playing on Simba, the child in you. So the dark side can play on your inner child. So that's why your inner child has to grow. It has to be disciplined. So you must become as strict as Mufasa, but still keep your inner child as well. Because it said that be like children. You need to still keep that free mind. The hero is the one who at some point loses their inner child, but gains it back at a later stage. So now he's playing on that part. So now Scar, basically, I hope I'm still recording. Let me check. Okay, we're still recording. That's good. So now Scar kills his brother. Just like Set killed Osiris. And then after that whole scene, Simba is banished. He flees. This always happens to the hero. The prodigal son, as the story of Jesus, as he gave that example. The prodigal son was banished into a different land, and he went to live with pigs. Joseph was sold by his brothers. All of this always happens, fleeing to different parts. The hero always has to leave that which he's familiar with. There's the ordinary world. Study the diagram and study the whole hero's journey. There's the ordinary world, and then there's a call to adventure. You can refuse it or accept it. And once you accept it, you go through a cycle. You can choose. Every day we go through the hero's journey. There's different cycles of the hero's journey. There's a big one, the smaller ones. So that's what it's all about here. So the hero has to be banished to go into the underworld, into the wilderness, where he goes to learn and sharpen and develop. That's what it's about. So now Simba being banished, or him fleeing, is basically now the hero leaving that which he's familiar with, and he has to go explore the dark passages of his own mind. He's going through challenges. That's why when you see him running away, he has to move through all the thorns, and then next thing he's in the desert. The thorns are the challenges of life that you begin to experience as an adolescent, and you begin to see that, damn, it's not all butterflies and flowers. There's thorns out here, there's heat, and there's no water out here. So that's what that part represented of the hero's journey. So now he's going through that. So let's see here. Also, Jesus being with the thorns, crucified with the thorns, that's what the thorns are. It's the challenges of life. So now Scar rises to power, and you can see how Scar rises to power. It's within the darkness. The sun is not out, so he really represents the shadow. He's doing things in darkness, not in light. So that's what that's part. It's the dark part of the psyche. That's what Scar is representing. So Simba is beginning his fighting with Scar, or his war with Scar begins there. Because in the story of Osiris, Set, and Heru, it goes that the sun every day it sets. That's the sun, S-O-N, that's the hero, Heru, that's Simba, going to fight with who? With Set. That's where we get the word sun set from. Set, the sun setting, is the hero, the light going into the underworld to battle the darkness. So that's what Simba being banished is. It was the beginning of his setting. The setting, he was born and all of that, and now he must now fight. So now that's him being banished. That's what that whole scene was about. Sun set. The sun is going to battle with Set in the psyche. So now let's continue on here. So now when you look at the diagram of the hero at some point will always meet companions. Here, that's who Timon and Pumbaa is. So now, as he descends into the underworld, he meets certain guides. And these guides are important because they're going to teach him certain lessons that are necessary for that stage. So now, his lesson at this particular point is that, hey Joe, akuna matata. Agone matata mfowethu mona. Hey Joe, resharp mfowethu skawara Joe. Mfowethu, don't worry about this. Relax mfowethu. Akunankinga lona mfowethu, akuna matata. That's the lesson. You really gotta know that lesson at the end of the day, because if all of this is an illusion and you are God and we are all God, really, akuna matata mfowethu. That's the lesson for that particular stage of Simba. He needed to learn that. That's the lesson. So now we see the scene where he is growing. So now he is growing in that lesson of akuna matata, but don't forget that he's a king. So he has to outgrow that whole thing of just being relaxed, because number one, understand this guy, he's the king of the jungle, right? He's the king of the jungle. He's a lion, for crying out loud, but he's eating worms. That's what that scene. He's eating worms, things that crawl out of the earth. Man, he should be eating zebras and buffaloes. He's chilling with the pig, eating with the pigs, just like the story of the prodigal son that Jesus spoke about. When the prodigal son left his father's house, he was freaking eating with the pigs. Pumbaa is a pig. So lion with a meerkat that crawls, that its house, it's underneath the ground. You know, they're eating worms. So that's what he needed to learn, that at some stage. That's still the childlike nature, because Timon and Pumbaa, if you look at them, they still, it's the lower side. It's the lower side. So he had to outgrow that. So a child is free, so value to a child, akuna matata, but then at some point, you need to outgrow that. So that was the lesson of that point. All right. So now, we continue on here. So we see Zazu, right? Now, Zazu being trapped when Scar is leading, they're showing Zazu in that cage. That scene represents that Scar the dark side of you leads without the third eye, without the king's eye. So most people right now in politics, the world leaders are Scar. I'm telling you this. Our presidents, the mayors, most of them, not all of them, but 90% of the people who are ruling the world, the priests, the pastors, they are Scar because they are leading without the third eye. Zazu, the bird, the hero's eye is caged. So the king is focused on their own ambition. What I gotta eat, I gotta fill my own stomach, I gotta get my own thing. So they don't look like Mufasa does, the king whose eye is free and flies around to check what's going on in the nation and reports back, or okay, there's injustice there. Okay, let me fix it. No, the bird is caged. The eye is caged. So Scar is the darkness. When the darkness within you begins to take and rule, Zazu is locked away. That's what that scene is, where they show Zazu there. Okay. So the next scene, they're showing Timon and Pumbaa under the stars, right? And this scene is very important. So they are talking, and then Timon says what he thinks the stars are, and then Pumbaa says that, which was very profound, what Pumbaa said. He's like, wow, I thought that there were balls of light burning billions of light away. And then Timon laughs, like, everything with you is gas, Pumbaa. That was very profound. That was very profound. I love that scene. And then they ask Simba, like, what do you think? And then he's shy to say it, but you can see it in his face that he's feeling it, like what his dad told him. Those are the ancestors. You are seeing the kings. Those are the ones who walked before you. And then they laugh at him. He's like, so you're telling me a bunch of dead royal guys are looking down on us? Ha ha ha. He laughs along, but if you see how the animators made his face look, his intuition is telling him that thing is real. So now that scene is showing Simba's intuition beginning to kick in. His self is coming back. He's remembering. That's why he stands up, he moves away, he's moving away from the childlike things, and he goes to be alone. And he looks up at the stars, and then he takes a sigh, like, boom. And then as he falls, the debris begins to move with the wind. So the winds of change are beginning to happen now. And guess where they go? They get carried by the wind, and Rafiki picks them up. So when they were laughing at him and he laughed along, his intuition was taking place. His intuition, the self, is represented by Rafiki. That's why they show the debris flowing to Rafiki. So Simba, the king, the shaman, the wise one within, was beginning to be like, nah, mfowethu. And like Lana, we're just relaxing, Antwana. Like something is really missing here. That's the intuition. That's why you see Rafiki on the tree, or in the tree. In the next scene, that tree is that tree of life. It's your body. It's that intelligence. Ooh, man, decoding this movie is so fun. Wow. Decoding this movie is so fun. So now we see that. So Simba is beginning to remember. He's beginning to remember, and now he's beginning to now find himself. So now he's going through a new birth. So Rafiki represents that. He's the self. As the debris go, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's cool. Jordan Peterson, another person. Check out Jordan Peterson. He it's a very, I love how he also speaks and decodes the Simba, the Lion King movie. Check out for further. I'm gonna leave a link to where Jordan Peterson is also decoding the movie of the Lion King. It's very amazing how he also decodes it. But as I'm saying, these are all the same. It's repeated out in many movies. It's in the Bible. It's everywhere. It's all psychological. It's the same story being repeated over and over and over and over and over again. And you just need to learn how to see it. So now we're going to continue on here. So now, the next aspect that they are showing of the hero coming back is Nala. When Nala comes back and he's chasing Pumbaa. So basically, Nala is representing the chaos of the feminine, because man represents order and woman is chaos. She rearranges you. She's like, hey. And then you're like, oh my God. Oh. She's that force, raw power. So chasing Pumbaa, running, that whole represents the the psyche, the inner child of Pumbaa, the inner child of who Simba is, must begin to die. Now it must submit to a different stage because he's growing. His intuition first kicked in. What happened after that? Nala shows up. It's the same thing, Khore. Adam was all ignorant in the garden, naming animals and things, like, oh man, living in bliss. He was basically in Hakuna Matata, and then Eve showed up. Is like, nah, bro, dog, what is this? And boy, eat this apple, bro. And then maybe we can begin to have different conversations. Maybe I could give you this yoni. Come on, I know you wanna get it. I mean, come on, imagine just always in the Garden of Eden naked. It's gonna get boring. Imagine doing that for 1 billion years, bro. So the woman is the one who's like, hey, Baba, what if? So that's why the woman was always demonized, because the Christians who took over the world or religions didn't understand that, yo, bro, you need that side. You need that challenge. You can't, and God knew that, bro. It's like, yo, bro, I'm gonna give you this. And then I know she's gonna make you into the man that you're supposed to be. You need to know the knowledge of good and evil, the knowledge of the gods, because that's what you are. You're a god. You're a god. So that's what Nala coming back was represented. She's showing Simba that he's the god, he's the king. He must come back into that. So that's him. That's her chasing Pumbaa around. All right. Bam. So now Simba is maturing. First of all, what happens is that he's in denial. You need to understand that the hero is always in denial of who he is. He's like, no, I'm not the king. So that's what's happening here. Let me see. I said here, the female cast a reflection on the male so that he looks at himself and then begins to see who he is. She is the mirror. Why? Because she is the water. There's 4 elements: fire, earth, air, and water. Fire and air are masculine. Earth and water are feminine. And water is a mirror. It's a reflective. If you look at in water, you can see your reflection. So that's what Nala is. Nala is the water. She's like to Simba, nigga, we thought you were dead, but then you're out here, and now he's seeing himself in his shy. He's like, no, I'm not the king. So he's in denial. He's Donald. When you're in denial, girl, you know so. I don't know if you guys know that song, but I hope you do. Otherwise, I just sound weird. All right, let's continue on here. Bam. She's the mirror, causing him to look at back, to look at himself. And now Simba here is basically also stepping into his heart chakra. So he's developing into this chakra. That's why you see that whole song, like, I can see what's happening, but they don't have a clue. That whole thing, that whole scene, I love that scene. At some point I once cried while watching that part. I was like, love is amazing. He's like, so much I have to tell her, but where do I begin? The truth about my past, impossible. She'd turn away from me. He's holding back, he's hiding, but what I can't explain. Why won't he be the king? I know he is the king I see inside. Can you feel the love? Come on, baby, love is amazing. All right, let's continue on here. Relax, bro. Jeez, people are watching you. People out there, you think you're alone? Let's continue on here. So he's tapping into his heart chakra. That's the whole scene about love. He's growing up. When you reach the heart chakra at the 3rd cycle of 7, when you're 21 to the ages of 28, you are initiated into the realms of the heart chakra. So that's why I believe Simba was at the stage of his life. So now he's coming into that stage. Bam. So now Nala is coming through with that. John Tana, you gotta be a man, bro. Stop these child things. Stop playing around. You gotta be a man. That's why she's singing here. He's holding back. He's hiding. He is hiding because the hero always tries to deny that he is the king, that he is the god. Because Nala is like, yo, bro, Simba's like, no, why do I gotta, I'm not the king. He's like, why should I go back? And Nala's like, yo, it's your responsibility. And that's what it's about. It's about a responsibility. Being a god comes with responsibility. Because you can't blame a Satan or a god outside for... You can't blame Set. Simba can't say, Scar made me do this. You can't blame Satan or demons or your father. It's you, Baba. You gotta take the responsibility. You can't be like, Mufasa, you left and died. Or you can't be like, Simba, you did. No. You gotta take the full responsibility because it's all you. So now, he's tormented by his lower emotions, guilt, regret, doubt, all of that, etc. So after that, so basically what's happening is that Rafiki and Nala are playing the resurrection part of the hero. So now, he is basically beginning to question himself and ask himself, who am I? Oh, who is he? He's asking himself, who am I? So, what's very dope is that they all show they show Rafiki when he comes and they have that whole scene. He's like, no, the question is, who are you? They show Rafiki meditating when he ran to show that in order to find out who you are, sometimes you gotta be in that meditation. To find the self, sometimes you gotta go like this. You don't necessarily have to do the poses. It just means sit in silent, man. Just just stop all of it. Just be alone as the hero. Just Rafiki must come through. The inner wise one inside of you must come through and be like, he's alive! He's alive! Oh my God! That's Rafiki. You see, that's the self. That's your higher self being excited when it finds you, when you begin to question. Remember when that scene when Simba was like, and then the debris flew to Rafiki, and then he's like, Simba, he's alive! That's your higher self. Those are your ancestors. When you begin to question, why are black people always demonized? Why are we, what is this, bro? Why are we, and they're like, oh my God, they're alive! Those are ancestors. Rafiki also represents the ancestors because they hold the ancient knowledge. Alright, we're gonna continue on here. So now Rafiki takes the hero to his father. The self takes you to your own subconscious mind. That's when you see now Simba looking at himself and Rafiki's like, look harder. So the water represents the subconscious. So you need to look harder into yourself in order to see your father, in order to see Mufasa, in order to see the king inside of you, in order to develop into that part. You gotta look at the water and then look harder in it, and then can you see the reflection. So now that's why he was telling him to look harder, so that he can find that aspect of himself. So now after that whole thing, Simba sees his father in the clouds. He's like, and he was saying, oh, Simba, you have forgotten who you are, and so you have forgotten who I am, because we have forgotten our ancestors, because we are told that our ancestors didn't know nothing. We were saved by the colonizers that came here, and they gave us knowledge when we had this knowledge all along. We've forgotten all of this. So we are Simba. As a race, black people, we are Simba. Indian people, y'all are Simba. White, all of us are Simba. Humanity is Simba. We are all Simba. And we have forgotten that we are a family. But right now, I need to address the black race. Like, yo, we are all one race. But black people, God, jeez, man. Woo! At what stage? Someone, please answer this in the comment. What stage of the collective hero's journey do you think black people are in the Lion King? So where are we in the Lion King? Please answer me in the comments. As black people, if we are Simba, as a collective, where are we in the Lion King according to the stages of development that I'm speaking about that Simba is going through? Please answer me that. I would like to engage with that. So now let's continue on here. So where was I? So now after he sees his father, He's like, you've forgotten who you are, and so you've forgotten who I am. So it's basically, you have to go back inside, find your roots in order to know the king that you truly are. So Rafiki says something, and then Simba, then Rafiki says change is good, and then Simba says that, but it's not always easy. That's true. It's not easy to change. It's not easy to walk away from your old beliefs and religions that your parents told you. Yo, if you don't believe in this, you're going to hell. And then you're like, but why would God burn us in hell if he's an all-loving God? So when you begin to question all these things you were brought up in, that change, it's not easy because your parents, your siblings, and people in your society are going to be like, no, this person is crazy, bro. They're saying that we are all one and that there's really no heaven or hell. It's a state of mind. Change is not easy. That's what that whole thing is about. Simba is stepping into change, and he's beginning to accept that about himself. So it's not easy to grow. So now Rafiki asks Simba what he's going to do. And then Simba says that I'm going to take your stick. And then he takes the stick and he throws it there. So anything that represents a stick, like anything that's a stick, a rod, a ladder, some stairs, that's always the that's the kundalini, that's the spinal cord. Watch my last video. That's the spinal cord. That's the rod. That's the rod. When you begin to ascend up the ladder of light, the spinal cord, that's what the stick of Rafiki is. It's the stick. It's the stick of the wise one. The teacher, the scribe, Hermes. It's the stick of Moses. It's your spinal cord with your 7 chakras. So Simba is taking back his stick, his rod. I'm going to take the stick of who? Of Rafiki. Rafiki is who? It's the self, the wise one, the shaman, the one who awakens all the wheels of light. So he takes the stick. Okay, so now Rafiki says, where are you going? And then he says, I'm going to face Scar. I'm going to face Scar. And then that whole scene represents the fact that now Simba is doing shadow work. He is integrating the shadow, the dark side. He's because Scar is him. Scar is not some entity outside. Scar is Simba as well. So he must integrate the shadow within himself. He must face the darkness that is within himself. He must go back to his own past. You know, the past also represents the darkness, and you would say that the future represents the light. So he must go back to the past, because only from the darkness can light be born. From that which you are afraid of is where the light is laying dormant. You know, it's the dark, it's the dark passage of the brain, what they call the caves, the cave of Brahma. So now, he must face the shadow, he must rise. When he left, when he ran away, the sun was setting, and now it's a sunrise. The hero is rising. So now sunrise is taking place. So he must become victorious. So this is the beginning of his sunrise. That's why when you see him running, that song is playing. See, vous allez rebo, vous allez rebo, vous salum shaba. I was like, okay, all right. Simba is awakening the rest of his body. When your head, when your light, when thy eye is full of light, as they say in the scriptures, the whole body shall be full of light. That's why when you see Pride Rock, it was dark there. It's because there was no Zazu, there was no light, there was no king. So Simba running back, he's awakening the body, he's awakening that aspect of himself. He's running back to awaken all that which has been barren. That's what the barren land is. The barren land is the body. So you can see it. It's messed up. There hasn't been rain. You know, it's dark. The animals have gone. So the body must be resurrected by this. So now Scar as they meet up. Scar, he's finally doing the shadow work. Scar, you know, tries to use all these lower things to make him feel guilty, but eventually, you know, he stands up for himself, and then he fights Scar, and then Scar tries to blind him in one scene where he's blinded by that, and in the story of Osiris and Set and Heru, Scar actually takes out one of Heru's eyes. Watch Gods of Egypt if you're lazy. Watch, but they like, you know what, man? Come on, man, it's fine. You know, we don't even need to argue whether the Egyptians were black or not. We know by this stage, Egypt is in Africa. So the Caucasians and white people keep on You know, they keep putting themselves in other people's stories. It's fine at this stage. We know. We're like, guys, okay, you have the money to make the movie. So we know who these people were. They were dark, melanated people. And we don't know why you keep trying to whitewash history, you know. But it's fine. But watch Gods of Egypt. But keep that. Don't be programmed. Like, watch it knowing that these were ancient black people. This is what Egypt and all of these things that happened, it's information laid down by melanated people. So Scar tries that whole thing, and then eventually Simba, like, he wins. Let me see here. Simba basically wins and he becomes victorious, and after that the rains come back and the land becomes green again. That's your body. Now the body is resurrected again. So that's what that whole scene was about. And after that, we see the whole cycle beginning again, where Simba now gives birth to a new hero, a new daughter, which just means a new journey. So this whole Lion King, this is where I'm going to end it. This whole Lion King thing is about the psyche, the development, the thing that is taking place within our own minds. All of this is in here. All of us are Simba. All of us are Rafiki. All of us are Scar, Zazu, Nala, the Hyenas. We are all these characters, and we need to integrate it, and we need to bring it within ourselves and look at ourselves from the bird's eye view, from the hawk's eye, the eagle eye, and see the whole landscape. Like when Scar takes over and is like blind ignorance, you gotta be like, nah, bro. And you begin to take on the different characters, because that's what it's all about. It's psychological. All of these stories are psychological. They are taking place within the mind of man. The mind of man. They are taking place inside of you. So thank you. Peace out, love and light, family. Don't forget to like and to subscribe to the channel so that you can get more videos in future. Also, click that notification button. And also, if you like to, you know, send me some donations just because you're like, man, you always just make me feel like, wow. Just for, I'm gonna leave my details are in the descriptions. Just check them out there. Whatever amount you want to donate to the boy, that's cool. It's amazing. I'm not charging you for the information. It's just an energy exchange, you know, like. Peace, family, man. Peace. I love you all. Thank you for walking this journey. I'm your reminder. Everything I know, you know. Everything you know, I know. This is how we set it up. This is how it was gonna be anyway. So remember who you are. Know who you are. Right now, I'm Rafiki hitting you on the head. Bah! I know who I am. The question is, who are you? I don't know. I'll tell you who you are. You are Mufasa's boy. So now you need to do what Simba did after I just told you that you were Mufasa's boy. What are you going to do now that I told you that you are Mufasa's boy? Are you going to switch off this video and sit and be like, well, that was very interesting? Or are you going to go back and fight Scar?